Well, thank you for having us. I'm excited to be here. My name is Tracy Skeens, and I work with the organization Yum Brands, which, for those of you that are unfamiliar, we operate a handful of restaurants, 53,000 or so. Pizza Huts, Taco Bells, KFCs, and for those of you that are on the coasts of the U.S., another brand called the Habit Burger Grill right now. So I'm honored to be here. We were here a couple years ago with Claudia and the Hispanic Leadership Summit when it kicked off, and I think with Yum, given the fact that we employ 1.5 million team members in our restaurants around the globe and hundreds of thousands of above store employees and have 2,000 wonderful franchisees that are entrepreneurs, often starting their businesses from the ground up, it's obviously it's important for us to make sure that we further the Hispanic cause, the Latinx cause, and quite frankly, diversity in general, because you've never had a more diverse set of customers and team members in our restaurants than you do when people are shopping at brands like Pizza Hut and KFC and Taco Bell. So I'm thrilled to be here, most importantly because today my job is an exciting one. I have with me today Jean and Yolanda Camarena, and they are the owners of a Pizza Hut franchise, La Raza Pizza. I've known Jean and Yolanda for a long time, and I will tell you their story, which I was so honored yesterday to learn even more about. Their story is phenomenal, just phenomenal. And so this session was originally supposed to be about career growth and how do we help the Hispanic community grow their careers. I hope, I know that you will agree with me when you hear their story about their humble beginnings, how they've built their businesses, the work that they do in communities with education, their own educational backgrounds. It is nothing short of inspiring. And lastly, before I kick it to them, I think there's so many things we've talked about today in terms of banking, education, corporate America, government, and I'm really hopeful that as you listen to Jean and Yolanda talk, you'll hear that they've touched on all of these things in their journey. And in addition, I think you'll see that they are two of the finest, just genuine great people that you'll ever meet. So with that, thank you guys for being here. And Jean, I want to start with you, and I really just want to ask for you to give a little bit of your backstory of your journey and where it's taken you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Tracy. And first of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the composition of this panel, and that I am the third least important person up here. We have two very powerful women. Tracy is an honorary Latina. She is in charge of operations for the largest restaurant company in the world. We have Yolanda, Harvard-educated, 40 years, the last 40 years spent on making sure our Latino youth get educated. She's raised millions of dollars for that cause, as well as made sure that literally thousands of young Hispanic students got into college and through it. So just this is what America and boards should start to look like, these, you know, in the next, hopefully sooner than later. But my story, again, very like many of us, my grandmother from Michoacan, Mexico, came to this country in 1918 with 3 small children. She was a widower, and came to Kansas. That's where we are now for her to work on the railroads. We built the railroads in Kansas. A lot of people don't across the country don't know that. She was very focused, although she had very little education, didn't speak much English at all. She knew that education was a very critical part of what being successful in this country has instilled that in my father and the rest of our kids. I went to undergraduate at University of Kansas, MBA at Harvard, and started my business with Pizza Hut in Wichita, Kansas, where I worked there for a few years and became a franchisee. And from there, Pizza Hut restaurants, also Marriott hotels, banking, real estate, all those sort of things. Possible by being educated, working hard, taking risk, and a few just quick inflection points was my decision to apply to Harvard. Many of us Latinos don't stretch high enough for where we apply, jobs, colleges, that sort of thing. Didn't know if I was going to get in, but I wanted to try, and luckily I was able to do that. Same with becoming a franchisee. I was just an employee. But I said, I've got to get to where I am holding my own business. And so I literally made a proposal to the president of Pizza Hut at the time, risking my job with the wife that was, I'll let her tell the story, but that was a 2-year-old, and she was 3 months pregnant. I gave up all those benefits and salary to go do this. And those are some of the things that we as a community have to take, those sort of risks, and it comes with confidence. It comes from being educated and believing in ourselves, but it's those risks that make all the difference in the world. Been in business for myself for 30 years now. It is our time, and we've been working in the community since then, but now is really our time to say that we're thankful for our grandparents, our parents, our community that has supported us throughout this whole journey. And our focus right now is really giving back as much as we can in all aspects in our community. So, yeah.
So, you know, one of the things we've been talking about is how obviously the career growth that people have, the businesses that they build, the hard work, the grit, the courage, that is so important. And yet what we've talked about is that now, as you were just saying, Jean, now, Yolanda, you are able to do things in the community, with all different things that you would not have been able to do if you didn't have the business success. So can you tell us a little bit about that and what that means to you?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for your kind introduction. I appreciate that. Gene is right when he says that education is really, for us, has been really the big impact for both of us. I'm originally from San Antonio, grew up in Corpus, and my mother comes from a family of 14. My father was from a family of 9. Probably very similar stories to a lot of you here in this room. 7th grade education, and I was first generation, high school first generation for college as well. And so for me, education was, you know, my stepping stone to success. I remember it was 2 weeks before college started at Wichita State University in Wichita, Kansas. And I applied to college, got accepted, showed up on campus, but had absolutely no idea what I was doing. Had no idea what a college credit was or anything like that. So for me, I always kept telling myself, if I ever get to the point where I can help other Latinos not have to go through this, then that's what I want to do. So I've been in higher ed administration almost my whole career and things, working at different colleges and universities, working in education centers and that type of thing. And now I work with the Kansas Hispanic Education and Development Foundation in Wichita, Kansas. We've raised over $1 million some already to educate our youth. The thing you have to understand about Kansas is that at the state this year, as the statistics and our demographics came out, there would have been no growth in the state of Kansas had it not been for Latinos. Had it not been for the Latino growth, there would have been no growth in the state of Kansas. And so that just tells you, as we've all heard today, the importance that we're going to have to do in order to commit to our students. We have pretty much attributed to to have gone to a lot of scholarship programs and done a lot of scholarship programs at our local colleges and universities there. We knew what it meant to us. We had people there who supported us, who believed in us. And I always tell everybody, all it takes is one person to believe in you, and that's it. And that's what we need to do with all of our youth and stuff. Just be that person to encourage them, to get them going, to let them realize that, you know, they have hope to better their future and hope to better their families. And that's all that's the essence of who we are and what we want, is to better ourselves and our families. We started this year in 2020. Didn't we just do it? when the George Floyd was going on, and there was inequity in this country, and inequity and injustice and things. And we sat and we talked about what can we do to really make this is our time to really come out and say something. We'd already been doing scholarship programs and those kinds of things too, but we gave a large gift to Wichita State University, and what we wanted to do was, and most of the time when we give, it's usually anonymous. But this time, we felt it was really important that Latinos knew that there were other Latinos who believed in them and were able to give at the point that you could give. And so at Wichita State University, we're the first Latinos, probably the first people of color, maybe, I'm not even sure. And we gave $1 million donation to Wichita State University. And it wasn't just a donation, and I think this is what you can do. We were talking last night at dinner about colleges and universities. This is what you can do at every college and university. What we looked at was that we didn't want to just give to scholarships, but we knew the importance of having faculty on campus, because if you don't see it, you can't achieve it. We knew that it was important that you had to have also a position in place in which student success for our kids was incredibly important. And we also wanted to make sure that our students not just, were just not getting a scholarship, but were getting advised and directed. So the gift we gave, it funded a person in admissions who was bilingual, who could speak with parents, Latino parents, as they recruited students, Latino students. Our donation funded a visiting professorship so that Latino, and we gave the program to not just Latino students, but to Black students as well, for our students that could be underrepresented. And we knew it was important for our community that those students were going to help each other, because if we cannot grow, if we can grow as we say, united as Latinos, just imagine if we could get our whole community of color together. Oh my gosh, and that's what I see, is if we can do the Latinos and we can get the Black community to work together, we can achieve so much even more. And so we felt it was important to really do that for both communities for Wichita. And the visiting professor, one of the things that we always hear is that there isn't a representation on our college campuses for our students to see who we are. So we knew that if we got a professor on campus, maybe he would like the campus, they could offer him a position, and we start growing on the academic end. We have a student we had an administrator that was placed in the Department of, in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, who makes sure that our scholars have the skills that they need in order to be successful. And so we need to hit all those areas. And we've been doing this for a very long time. And I think that right now, I would say that of all the students we've educated, there is a U.S. president in that group, and she is going to be ready to go, okay? When that happens, she will be there. And I think that's what we have to look at, is that we are really looking for the future and educating our future. And things. And so I think it's just important that we keep that focus and know that that's where the influence is going to come.
Can I just say, I was right, that they're good to listen to, right? They're fantastic. So, Yolanda, you've been talking about education, scholarships, the work. I love the precision with which you talk about, putting a bilingual advisor in. All of those small steps that are life-changing for people. I want to switch gears a little bit, Jean, and given the fact that we've talked a lot in this summit and a few years ago as well about the intersection of big corporations and the commitments they make. Obviously, Yum, we've come out with saying we're going to $100 million unlocking opportunity, creating education programs for aspiring entrepreneurs and franchisees. But our situation's interesting because we have small business owners that really are the big business of the corporation. And so could you share a little bit about how you, in the Yum Pizza Hut system, have helped push the corporate folks to say we need to do more and more and more on equity, inclusion, and belonging?
Yes. Well, Tracy, just so you know, we're going to find a way for you to spend that $100 million in the right areas.
That's what it's there for.
Well, first of all, Yes, you know, there's talk about how do we change systematic bias, the barriers that business people face, and you know, one of the things that I had to do when I first bought my first pizzas was find financing. That barrier was there 30 years ago, and it's still there today. And what it was is there's got to be a collaboration between at that point, PepsiCo, banking, where I could put together a proposal that made economic sense, and there was a benefit for both sides, and that is really important. And so I was able to negotiate a deal where they sold restaurants to me. Most of them weren't performing, so they were going to close them. So I bought them. I said, if I'm going to do that, you need to guarantee my bank financing, PepsiCo, and they did that. And so it was a very collaborative effort as we move forward. Once you're in, once you show some success, the banking becomes a lot easier, as you guys know, and actually banks want to loan you money when you don't even need it. But as far as working from the so once you're in there, and again, we pay millions of dollars of franchise fees each year, so there's an expectation for us as franchisees to perform, protect the brand, that sort of thing. But there should also be an expectation of our franchisor that, okay, you support us, you listen to our initiatives, what we want to do, and we just formed our first DE&I committee for Pizza Hut in the past year, which I chair, and our objectives are very clear. It's making sure that we've got diversity in our franchise ranks, diversity at the corporate office, as well as diversity in our suppliers. There's a whole spectrum of things that we can improve in, and so we push. And the great thing about Yum Brands, you say, is they listen, and they're taking action. Their leadership team is much more diverse now than it was 30 years ago when I first started. There are specific programs that Yum is putting into place. At the University of Louisville, they're starting a Center for Franchise Excellence. They're a cohort this year of diverse students that are going to get a degree in franchising. Once they come out, they will have an opportunity to become franchisees that's going to be funded by Yum Brands and franchisees like me to put equity so that they don't have to jump through that hurdle of finding the financing. And it's up to us as people who are inside these corporations to continue to push. It's uncomfortable sometimes. We know that, but it's necessary and needed. And so what I would tell you is that continue to push, leverage our strength, leverage our financial acumen, our financial power, because we're important to these corporations, and as well as our own businesses, and we have that power, but we need to continue in partnership. We don't do any partnerships with corporations unless we're willing to put our own time and effort and our money in right alongside a Yum Brands, a Marriott, those sort of things. So it's very important that we continue to push from within.
Well, I think there's definitely power in the smaller businesses and big businesses working together, common goals, pushing on one another, and challenging one another to further the cause. So we sadly only have a few minutes left, and so I want to ask both Jean and Yolanda, and then I will as well, Claudia, talk about what, in terms of what you commit to do going forward. You're doing so much already, but can you share with everyone what you commit to do to further the initiatives with Hispanic Leadership Summit, with Hispanic Star, and in your own endeavors?
Well, in just seeing the statistics, this is our first time attending this event, and so we're really honored to have an opportunity to meet everyone here. But as I saw that there was only 22 states that have Hispanic Star, that was in the statistics right now, that Hispanic Star is only in 22 states. Well, we'd like to make 23 states if we can do something in Kansas. And things too. So, and we will work. If you let me know what we need to do or what we can utilize, and how to get that started, we'd be happy to start promoting that within the state of Kansas and stuff too.
Yes, and my promise is, I don't know if I saw Marriott on our list. Were they on our list? Okay, then that's my mission, is to recruit Marriott onto the Hispanic Star Initiative. And so that's our promise, to do that.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Yolanda. And certainly, as we mentioned, we've pledged $100 million. We've got about half of that we haven't committed yet. And so a lot of the initiatives here, I think, would be good sources for us to put those funds towards. And as always, anytime we're in Dallas, where a lot of our employees are, we're happy to host. And certainly the initiatives that we're pushing on getting more Hispanic and Latinx leaders in, that is something we are moving the numbers significantly, but I'm still wildly dissatisfied with where we are. And so we are going to push even harder on that. So please welcome me in thanking Gene and Yolanda. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I do want to recognize, I do want to tell the story. I want to recognize that you're bearing here with us again. Like the first ever presentation I made about what we wanted to do was to Tracy and now the CEO, David Gibbs, and I gave them my 82 slides deck. And they had to sit down there and see it through. And so seeing not only that you're here with me, that you bared actually the time, seeing that you personally, Tracy, were our co-chair last year, that you took a plane just to be here, that you took your incredible franchisees from Kansas, and seeing the commitment that Yum is having and the impact that can have in our community altogether deserves an incredible applause. Thank you so much for coming here. Thank you.
Thank you.